Class 12 third semester English suggestion complete syllabus question answer দেখে নাও The Night Train at Deoli এখান থেকে The Night Train at Deoli is written by Ruskin Bond. The Night Train at Deoli was published in 1988. The narrator in the story The Night Train at Deoli was travelling from Delhi to Dehra. When would the narrator go to Dehra? Early in May. Where did the narrator spend his summer vacation? At his grandmother's place in Dehra. The narrator would return from Dehra late in July. Deoli was situated about 30 miles from Dehra. Next. How old was the narrator when he first met the girl? 18 years. The girl whom the narrator saw on the platform at Deoli was selling baskets. The girl was walking in a graceful and dignified manner. How did the narrator react when he saw the girl for the first time? He was looking at her intently. The girl had shiny black hair. While buying a basket, the narrator gave the girl 1 rupee. I caught her hand and held it. It was an expression of love. Next. As the narrator reached Dehra, he almost forgot the girl because there were other things to occupy his mind. The narrator was making the return journey 2 months later. When the narrator saw the girl walking up the platform during his return journey, he felt an unexpected thrill. When the narrator met the girl second time, he felt the impulse to take her away with him. I will come again. Will you be here? In reply the girl কিভাবে reply nodded. Next. What happened when the train started moving? The narrator wrenched his hand away from the girl and ran for the moving train. At the end of the college term, as the narrator reached Deoli, he was nervous and anxious. When the train reached Deoli, the narrator was deeply disappointed because he could not see the girl anywhere. The narrator saw the girl twice. The road leading into the jungle was dusty. Next. The tea stall owner was a small, shriveled up man. She was nothing to me. This is said by the tea stall owner. The narrator will never break his journey at Deoli because it may spoil his game of hoping and dreaming and waiting for the girl. It may spoil my game. What does this statement suggest? The narrator will lose all hope of finding the girl. Next. The narrator's repeated visit to Deoli station suggests that he wishes to see the girl again. Perhaps she was no longer in Deoli. Perhaps she was dash. Perhaps she had fallen ill. Dash have married. I took the basket on top. I gave her a rupee. Join into a compound sentence. I took the basket on top and gave her a rupee. গ্রামার এখান থেকে 31 থেকে টেক্সচুয়াল গ্রামার। সি saw me, she smiled, এটাকে কমপ্লেক্স সেন্টেন্সে করতে হবে। when she saw, she smiled. নেক্সট, Deoli was a small station about 30 miles from Dehra. It marked the beginning of the heavy jungles of the Indian Tarai. It is a simple sentence. Simple sentence করতে হবে। Deoli, a small station about 30 miles from Dehra, marked the beginning of the heavy jungles of the Indian Terai. Next, এগুলো সব অপশন। নেক্সট কোশ্চিন, I decided that one day I would get off the train at Deoli and spend the day there. Split into simple sentence. Split অর্থাৎ টুকরো টুকরো করে আলাদা করতে হবে। One day I would get off the train at Deoli, একটা সেন্টেন্স। I would spend the day there, আর একটা সেন্টেন্স। I decided this, এর আরও একটা সেন্টেন্স। নেক্সট কোশ্চেন, The new man did not know anything about the girl who sold basket. এটাও স্প্লিট করতে হবে, অর্থাৎ টুকরো টুকরো করা, আলাদা আলাদা সেন্টেন্স। The girl sold baskets. The new man did not know anything about her. এখানে দুটো টুকরো, দুটো সেন্টেন্স। নেক্সট, All right, give me one, I said. Narration করতে হবে এটাকে। I accepted the offer and asked her to give me one. I have to go to Delhi, I said. এটাও narration. I said that I had to go to Delhi. He said she has stopped coming now. Narration. He said that she had stopped coming then. Next, she stood to my window for some time. Correction of error. তো এখানে ভুল কোথায় আছে? এখানে হবে she stood by my window for some time. শুধু একটা বাই হলো। নেক্সট, আরও একটা কারেকশন এরর। she has stopped to coming now. she has stopped coming now. Next, এবার our Kazrina tree থেকে। The author of our Kazrina tree is Toru Dotto. The aspect of the tree emphasized in the poem is its height. The emotion that speaker associated with the Kazrina tree is sadness. The poem describes the tree resilience by the word unyielding. Which of the following best describes the imagery in the poem? Natural and vivid. The poem highlights a connection between nature and human experience of grief. Next, a certain season suggested in the poem. This is the season of winter. The speaker's reflection on the tree, nostalgia. The speaker associates with the tree a feeling of melancholy. The phrase, the tear of the past, refers to sorrow. The Kazrina tree can be seen as a metaphor for endurance. The presence of the Kazrina tree evokes in the poet sadness. Next, The casuarina tree is described in a way that suggests it is old and wise. The casuarina tree appears in the poem tall and majestic. In the expression, the giant wears the scarf. The giant stands for the casuarina tree. The scenes that the poet visualizes at dawn are opening the casement wide open. Next, in the expression like those in Baroudel, the word Baroudel means valley. What may defend the tree from oblivion's curse? Love. The casuarina tree, as described by the poet, is tall and strong, and its trunk is rugged. A creeper winds the tree round and round, like a python. Many birds and bees are gathered all day long on the tree. At dawn, as the poet looks out, she sees a grey monkey sitting like a statue on the top of the casuarina tree. The casuarina tree remains forever as a symbol of love. Next, the poet expresses her wish that the tree should be remembered out of love, just because it cannot pass into the curse of oblivion. Next, the poet does not miss to notice the sleepy cows going to the ponds for gazing. The poet wishes to consecrate the tree's memory to her loved ones who are not alive. Who is the speaker in the poem? A person reminiscing about childhood memories under the tree. Next, what feeling does the speaker associate with the casuarina tree? Comfort, security, and happy memories. What is the tone of the poem Our Casuarina Tree? Bittersweet and nostalgic. A grey baboon sits, statue, like alone watching the sunrise. Split. এখান থেকে গ্রামার শুরু, স্প্লিটিং করতে হবে। স্প্লিট অর্থাৎ আলাদা আলাদা সেন্টেন্স। এ গ্রে ব্যাবুন সিটস স্ট্যাচু লাইক অ্যালন, এটা একটা। আর হি ওয়াচ দ্য সানরাইজ, এটা একটা 2 নম্বর সেন্টেন্স। নেক্সট, in the shadow on the broad tank cast by that hoard tree, the water lilies spring like snow in mist, এটাও স্প্লিট করতে হবে। the water lilies spring in the shadow like snow in mist, এটা একটা। আর একটা হবে the shadow is cast by that hoard tree on the broad tank. Next, the casuarina tree is tall, it is majestic. Join into simple sentence, joining simple sentence e korte hobe। the casuarina tree is tall and majestic. Next, the poet remembers the tree she weeps, এটা complex sentence e korte hobe। the poet weeps whenever she remembers the tree. The Kazina tree is tall. It stands beside the pool. A compound. The Kazina tree is tall and it stands beside the pool. Next. The tree's vast shadow seems very beautiful, she said. Narration. She said that the tree's vast shadow seemed very beautiful. Next. She said to her companions, "It shall arise blent in memory with your image." এটাও narration. She remarked her companions that it would arise in memory blent with their image. Next. It may possibly reach the unknown land, she said. She suggested that it might possibly reach the unknown land. এটাও narration. The water lily spring like snow in must. এটা correct error. The water lily spring the snow in must. Next. I heard that well far away in distant lands. এটাও correct error. I have heard that well far away in distant lands. And every time the music rises before mine inner vision rose from sublime. এটাও correct error. And every time the music rose before mine inner vision rose from sublime. So rises ছিল ওখানে rose হবে. Next. Strong roots. Kalam's full name was Abul Pakir Jainulabdin Abdul Kalam. Next. Strong roots is extracted from APJ Abdul Kalam's autobiographical work, Wings of Fire. The name of Kalam's father was Jainulabdin. Kalam's father had a great inner wisdom. Kalam's father was a pious man. Next. The name of the mother of the author of Strong Roots is Asiamma. One of Kalam's mother ancestors was given the title of Bahadur by the British. Kalam considers his childhood to be very secure. During meals, the food was served on banana leaves. From Kalam's house, the Shiva temple was a 10 minutes walk. Kalam's locality was predominantly Muslim. Next. Kalam described his neighborhood as a predominantly Muslim locality close to the famous Shiva temple where Hindu families lived amicably with their Muslim neighbors. Kalam's father would take him to the mosque for evening prayers. Kalam's father was well known in their locality because he was a healer who prayed for the well-being of his fellow men. Next. The sacred water was carried for the invalids. The antonym of the word invalid is healthy. The high priest of Rameswaram temple was Pakshi Lakshmana Shastri. One of the most vivid memories of my early childhood is of the two men. Here two men refers to Jainulabdin and Pakshi Lakshmana Shastri. Next, the word vivid means clear. Next, when troubles come, try to understand the relevance of your suffering. Here the speaker is Jainulabdin, Kalam's father. According to Kalam's father, cosmos sees no distinction of wealth, age, caste or creed. The word communion refers to oneness. The word transcend means to surpass. Adversity always presents opportunities for introspection. Next, whenever people are in trouble, they look for someone to help them. The word introspection means self-analysis. The word recurrent means occurring over and over again. The word anguish means grief. The word opposite demoni is angelic. The word go between means mediator. Next, my parents were an ideal couple. It was widely regarded. Join into a simple sentence. My parents were widely regarded as an ideal couple. There was a very old mosque in our locality. My father would take me there for evening prayers. Join into a complex sentence. There was a very old mosque in our locality where my father would take me for the evening prayers. Next, this is not a correct approach. It should never be followed. Join into simple sentence. This incorrect approach should never be followed. We lived in our ancestral house, which was built in the middle of the 19th century. Split into simple sentence. Split korte hobe. We lived in our ancestral house. It was built in the middle of the 19th century. Next. Many of them offered bowls of water to my father, who would dip his fingertips in them and say a prayer. Split into simple sentence. Many of them offered bowls of water to my father. একটা sentence. He would dip in fingertips in them. আরো একটা. He would say a prayer. আরো একটা. তিনটে sentence. টুকরো টুকরো করে তিন টুকরো করা হলো. Split. Next. I normally ate with my mother sitting on the floor of the kitchen. Split into simple. I normally ate with my mother. We used to sit on the floor of the kitchen. Next, I asked my father about the relevance of prayer. Narration. I said to my father, what is the relevance of prayer? এটা narration answer করা আছে, কোশ্চেনটা করতে হলো। Kalam's father said, every recurrent anguish, longing and desire finds its own special helper. Narration. Kalam's father said that every recurrent anguish, longing and desire found its own special helper. Next, he had an ideal helpmate in my mother Asiamma. Correction of errors. He had an ideal helpmate in my mother Asiamma. I would say mine had a very secure childhood. Correction of errors. In fact, I would say mine was a very secure childhood. Next, Ulysses. Ulysses described the people of Ithaca as savage race. What kind of laws does Ulysses meet and dole? Unequal laws. What does Ulysses say his people do, indicating their simple life, hoard, sleep and feed? How does Ulysses feel about his current state of being idle, restless? What does Ulysses intend to do instead of remaining idle? Travel and explore. Ulysses says that he will drink life to the less. Next, Ulysses has drunk delight of bottle with peats. Ulysses find it dull to pause to make an end. What Ulysses wishes to follow like a sinking star is knowledge. Ulysses describes the boundary of human thoughts as beyond the utmost bound. The name of Ulysses' son is Telemachus. Next, the task that Telemachus is expected to fulfill is to make mild a rugged people. According to Ulysses, through soft degree, Telemachus will subdue people to the useful and the good. Ulysses describes Telemachus' character as most blameless. In Ulysses' opinion, Telemachus will never fail to perform offices of tenderness. For all experiences, Ulysses used the metaphor of an arch. Next, the expression of arch metaphorically leads to an untraveled world. Ulysses describes the seas as dark and broad. What have the mariners done with Ulysses? Toiled, wrought, and thought. Toiled, wrought, and thought. The natural elements that the mariners have faced together are thunder and sunshine. According to Ulysses, what closes all is death. Next, Despite old age, Ulysses believes that they will have honor and toil. Ulysses believes that something can still be done before the end, and that is to do some work of noble note. How should the mariners smile the furrows? Firmly. To the mariners, the gulfs might wash them down. On the happy Aeschylus, Ulysses and his companions might see Achilles. The mariners have been made weak by time and fate. Next. Ulysses believes that Telemachus will make mild a rugged people. Ulysses describes Telemachus as being centered in the sphere of common duties. Ulysses acknowledges that Telemachus will fulfill his duties when he is gone. I cannot rest from travel. I will drink life to the less. Join into compound sentence. এটা হবে I cannot rest from travel and will drink life to the less. This grey split yearns in desire. It yearns to follow knowledge like a sinking star. Join into a simple sentence. This grey split yearns in desire to follow knowledge like a sinking star. I cannot rest from travel and desire to drink life to the less. Split into simple sentence. I desire to drink life to the less. I cannot rest from travel. Next. How dull it is to rust, unvarnished not to shine in use. Split into simple sentence. It is very dull to rust unvarnished. It is very dull not to shine in use. এটা split দুটি হলো দুটি সেন্টেন্সে It little profits that an idle king matched with an aged wife I meet and dull unequal laws unto a savage race. Ulysses said, narration, Ulysses said that it profited a little that he, an idle king, matched with an aged wife meted and doled unequal laws unto a savage race. Next. Ulysses, you and I are old. Old age hath yet his honor and his toil. Narration. Ulysses reminded his mariners that they and he were old, yet old age had his honor and his toil. He does his work, I mind, correction, error. He works his work, I mind. Next. It may be that the seas will wash as down. Correction error. It may be that the gulfs will wash us down. Come, my friend, it is not too late to seek a newer world. Join complex. Because it is not too late to seek a newer world. Pose of sitting well, in order smile, the sounding furrows. Join compound. Push off and smile the sounding furrows. Next, The Bet, Anton Chekhov. The story The Bet by Anton Chekhov is primarily a philosophical exploration of life. The central conflict in The Bet revolves around the debate between life imprisonment and capital punishment. The story The Bet is an example of a moral parable or allegory. Next, the style of writing in The Bet can be described as simple yet thought-provoking. Anton Chekhov's The Bet emphasizes the theme of the futility of greed and the search for deeper truths. The lawyer refused wine and tobacco in his first year of confinement because they stimulated desires and polluted the air. Next, in the fifth year, the lawyer spent most of his time eating, drinking, and laying on the bed. The lawyer wrote a note in 6 languages to show his linguistic abilities and ask for validation. The lawyer's note requested the banker to prove his success by firing a shot in the garden. Next, the lawyers varied reading during the last 2 years in compared to a swimmer clutching at pieces of wreckage. The banker feared paying the lawyer because he would face bankruptcy and disgrace. The banker found the lodge to be intact but cold and dark. Next, the banker's decision to visit the lodge late at night was driven by the intention to kill the lawyer to avoid payment. The banker's greatest fear about the lawyer's release was the lawyer's taking his money and ruining him financially. The young lawyer at the party was about 25 years old. The banker entered the prisoner's room after breaking the seals on the door and unlocking it. The banker found the prisoner asleep with a sheet of paper in front of him. The banker initially thought of killing the prisoner because he wanted to avoid paying the 2 millions. Next, the prisoner spent 15 years in confinement to prove a philosophical point about the value of life. The prisoner's note revealed his feeling about his 15 years of confinement as a spiritual awakening that led him to devise materialism. The banker considered killing the prisoners by smothering him with a pillow. Next. The banker decided to read the prisoner's note before acting because he was curious about the prisoner's thoughts. The prisoner's ultimate declaration of despising worldly blessing reflects the story theme of the futility of material wealth and human desires. Next. The banker decided against killing the prisoner because he read the prisoner's note and realized the money was no longer needed. The watchman reported seeing the prisoner climb out of his window and leave the lodge. The lawyer believed that desire was a prisoner's worst enemy. Next. The prisoners wrote his lines in languages to demonstrate his learning. 6. After the 10th year, the prisoners read only the Gospels. The prisoners compared the wisdom of book to a compass compressed inside his brain. The prisoner believed that even immoral genius and their works would be reduced to ashes along with the earth. It was autumn. It was a dark night. Join into simple sentence. It was a dark autumn night. Next. I may pay him. It is all over with me then. Join into complex sentence. If I do pay him, it is all over with me. Among the guests was a young lawyer, a young man of 5 and 20. Split into simple sentence. Among the guests was a young lawyer. He was a young man of 5 and 20. He took from a fireproof safe the key of the door which had not been opened for 15 years. Split into simple sentence. He took from a fireproof safe the key of the door. It had not been opened for 15 years. The banker said, think better of it, young man, while this is still time. Narration. The banker advised the young man to think of it better while there was still time. If I had the pluck to carry out my intention, thought the old man, suspicion would fall fast upon the watchman. Change of narration. The old man thought if he had had the pluck to carry out his intention, suspicion would fall fast upon the watchman. Among the guests were a young lawyer. Correction error. Among the guests was a young lawyer. The banker was delighted by the bed. Correction error. The banker was delighted at the bed. What is the good of that man losing 15 years of his life and my throwing away 2 millions? Correction of errors. What is the good of that man's losing 15 years of his life and my throwing away 2 million? If I do pay him, it is all over me. Correction error. If I do pay him, it is all over with me. Next. Riders to the Sea drama থেকে The play Riders to the Sea is set on Aran Island. Nora brings a bundle containing a shirt and stocking. Bradley plans to travel to Galway Fair. Kathleen hides the bundle in the turf loft. The young priest says Michael may have received a clean burial, by God's grace. The young priest mentions a body found in Donegal. Next. Kathleen starts spinning the wheel after kneading the cake. Kathleen places the ladder against the gable of the chimney. Bradley asks Kathleen for a new rope to make a halter for the mare. The new rope was hung up because it was eaten by the pig with black feet. Bradley plans to travel to the fair by taking a boat and crossing the sea. Next. Nora sees the hooker taking from the east. The new rope was bought in Connemara. Maurya says that 100 or 1,000 horses are worthless compared to one son. Maurya mentioned that the whiteboards will be used to make Michael's coffin. Maurya sees a star up against the moon as a sign of bad luck. The stocking is described as plain. The family realize they forgot Bradley's bit of bread, the body found by two men rowing with poteen. The flannel might not be Michael's because shops sell the same rolls. Nora identifies the stocking by counting stitches. Kathleen tells Maurya to meet Bartley at the spring well. Patch was drawn out of a curef. Maurya describes seeing Bartley riding the red mare with the grey pony behind him. Maurya recalls Bride Dara seeing a dead man with a child in his arms. Kathleen asks Yamon to prepare a coffin from the whiteboards. Maurya says two of her sons were found in the Bay of Gregory of the Golden Mouth. The men realize there were no dash for making the coffin, nails. Bradley's body was carried on a flank with red sail. Bradley was drowned because the grey pony knocked him into the sea. The women start keening when Bertley's body is brought in. The old woman entered the house, wearing red petticoats over their heads. Bertley says he'll ride down on the red mare and the grey pony will run behind him next. Maurya expresses her acceptance of fact by saying no man at all can be living forever. Maurya says no man can live forever and they must be satisfied with what they have. Kathleen tells Nora to put the bundle into a hole in the chimney corner. Maurya says she had 6 sons in the house and now they are all gone. Maurya says that she leaves young men floating after 9 days in the winter. The community role in the play is shown by their shared mourning and support for the family. Maurya's statement, no man at all can be living forever, reflects acceptance of mortality as inevitable. ভালো লাগলে লাইক শেয়ার ও কমেন্ট করতে ভুলবে না। কোনো রকম অসুবিধা থাকলে জানাবে।